Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Farzy Show. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by my good friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Always fast and free shipping at IHateStevenSinger.com. We got a hell of a program for you today. Shamus Clancy joins us from Philly Voice, phillyvoice.com. You've been reading Shamus. You've been following Shamus for years, and we're going to get a chance to talk to him today about all things Philadelphia Eagles. He was at the Gannon press conference yesterday, the Shane Steichen press conference yesterday as well. I was listening and following both, as you would assume, in a 31-point performance by your offense, not including, of course, that defensive touchdown with the pick six by James Bradbury, not including that 31 points by your offense. So you would assume that your offensive coordinator would be pretty excited about what his unit was able to accomplish. Okay. Jonathan Gannon was exactly what you would expect. Almost apologetic. He did fall on the sword yesterday. I give him credit for that. I mean, he flat out said, yes, anytime you have a defensive coordinator, or anytime you have a coach in general, or even a player, take to a microphone. You know what? Now that I really think about it, anyone that takes to a microphone with an opening statement, it's as if to say, all right, I know what you guys are going to ask, so let me just try to get ahead of it for a second here. I know we weren't good. We need to be better. We have a lot of things to clean up. That was more or less what Jonathan Gannon had to say yesterday during his press conference. Was that not acceptable? Jalen Hurts, I really liked what he had to say. Some things that they did were not up to their standard. Love that. Acknowledge it, even in a win. You didn't play how you should have played. When I talk about prove-it games, when you play a team like the Lions that are not supposed to be a good football team, they were tied to the NFL last year for the worst record, or should be fewest win total, I should say, the smallest win total in the NFL with 3. So when you play a team like that, you should beat the ever-loving hell out of them, like you did last year, 44-6. This was not a 44-6 type of thing. Gannon, to go on in his press conference, we'll let you hear some of the things he had to say. They did things that they didn't expect them to do. That tells me you got out-coached. We'll let you hear from Gannon coming up in just a second. But how about those Philadelphia Phillies, baby? Let's take a peek at the wild card standings right now. Everybody won last night. The Braves, the Phillies right now, a game and a half up on the Padres in that second wild card spot. They're 3.5 games up now on the Brewers still. Padres are still occupying that third wild card spot ahead, 2 games ahead of the Milwaukee Brewers. So that makes you feel all right with the world. Phillies get the 2-1 victory over the Miami Marlins last night. Sandy Alcantara, another gem of a performance. He got off the schneid that he had been on for, 4 games now? 3 of his last 4 games. Until he met Nick Maton. Nick Maton hit his second home run off Sandy Alcantara this season in a week. And he goes out last night, hits a 2-run home run in the 7th inning with the Phillies down 1-0. De La Cruz hit a home run in the 6th inning against the Phillies off Maton+Falter and gave the Marlins the 1-0 lead. In the 7th inning, the Phillies literally get a bloop and a blast. Gene Segura steps up with his 3rd hit of the ball game, which was a little blooper into shallow right field. Next up, Nick Maton. Nick Maton goes down 0-2 in the count and then blasts one to deep right field and puts it in the stands to give the Phillies a 2-1 victory. Now, there's some pretty wild stats surrounding last night, but I'm always amazed. Like Maton+Falter, for instance, and I heard my friend Michael Barkan rattle him off for Maton+Falter in Phillies post-game live last night. Phillies under Maton+Falter, 6-0 in his last 6 starts. Also, the Phillies are 12-2 in games started by Maton+Falter dating back to April 16th. Those are some wild numbers. But how about this number? 9.8. 9.8. Nick Maton, of all people, is hitting a home run this season. Granted, only has like 49 at-bats. But he is hitting a home run this season every 9.8 at-bats. What? That's Ruthian. That's 06 Ryan Howard-ian. That is bonkers. And Nick Maton just seems like the coolest kid in the room. It's just like, yeah, man, that's what I do. Like that's his whole like Nick Maton is almost like what Scott Kingery was supposed to be. And I hate to bring that name up because I wish nothing but great things for that guy. But damn, he just delivers. Plays anywhere, a career infielder, plays anywhere you want him to play in the outfield, does what he can in the outfield to help you win, steps up to the plate, and against the guy that's going to win a Cy Young most likely this year, it's just like, yeah, I'll just go yard against him twice in a week. Phillies get the 2-1 victory. Nick Maton helps deliver that, and Maton+Falter was on point. 6 innings last night, 4 hits, the 1 earned run, and 4 strikeouts, I believe is what he ended up with. But Phillies get the victory most importantly. And after the game, this was great. Jim Salisbury, NBC Sports Philadelphia, asked the question to Philly Rob about how Nick Maton just pounces on those fastballs. He's down in the count 0-2. He gets another fastball from Alcantara, and he belts it. And that's how he hits his home run. It just seems like he anticipates fastballs well. I don't know if it's just anticipating the count, knowing the pitcher, watching film, studying the pitcher, whatever it might be, or if he just is phenomenal at pitch recognition. I don't know. But Jim Salisbury asked the question to Rob Topper, after the game, and Topper just goes, well, if I told you that, I'd be giving away a secret. And then he stuck to that. He didn't give any further detail. And then he talked about the guy's personality and the way he is in the clubhouse. Phillies, man, they're just playing that winning baseball, and they're doing what they need to do. You got 1 win now against Miami in this 3-game series. Once again, all 6:40 start times. You know how I love those. 6:40 start times. You get the first win of the season, or series, excuse me, get that out of the way. Now you go for the series win today. Keep our fingers crossed the Phillies will keep that going and keep their spot in the wild card standings as well. Flip it back to the old football, the gridiron, right? Vic Fangio has no title. Vic Fangio, a career coach, 41 years as a professional coach, a longtime defensive coordinator, really made a name for himself with the 49ers, helping them get to a Super Bowl. Then went to the Broncos. Things didn't work out there as a head coach. Vic Fangio was a name I remember when Chip Kelly came to town that I know I was looking at as a possible defensive coordinator here in Philadelphia. And, oh, yeah, you get Vic Fangio. Maybe he was a head coach, get Vic Fangio out here, right? It never happened. But if you remember talking to Hollis Thomas maybe a couple weeks ago, Hollis brought up the name Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio had been at practice. I knew Vic Fangio had been at practice. But I was like, wait, did they hire Vic Fangio as some kind of defensive assistant, defensive consultant or something like that? Because if you remember last year, Jim Bob Cooter, former offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, and greatest name in sports, Jim Bob Cooter was some sort of offensive, like he was like passing game coordinating consultant. He was something crazy like that. And it worked. It helped the Eagles offense, obviously. At least I think it worked. He's left now. I forget who he's with now, but he's moved on. So I was looking for Vic Fangio and what kind of job title the Eagles gave him. He was around training camp, and Hollis Thomas seemed to think that he was a coach on the staff. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking, and nothing. Not Vic Fangio, not on the coaching staff. And I was like, all right, let me look at Wikipedia. Maybe Wikipedia has something along the lines of former NFL head coach and defensive coordinator, currently in a consulting role with the Philadelphia Eagles. Nope. Nothing on there about the Philadelphia Eagles. You know what I did notice, though, which was bonkers? Apparently, he was an assistant coach for the Philadelphia Stars / Baltimore Stars of the USFL back in the early to mid-'80s. So there's a fun fact that I didn't know before the show today. Vic Fangio, no title, yet his name keeps getting brought up. So it got me thinking a little bit, and this is why I wanted to talk to Shamus Clancy, because he seems to have the same thought process as I do, and some people were asking about just this on phillyvoice.com in the Philly Voice mailbox, and Shamus addressed it. Vic Fangio being around the team, what's the deal with that? Is it just some kind of senior assistant defensive consultant? Is it possibly having at the ready a replacement for Jonathan Gannon? Which would be insane. If Jonathan Gannon, I'm not firing Jonathan Gannon right now. I know we've done that many times over the first year of him being here and now one game. But if Jonathan Gannon were to get let go, let's say that the Eagles defense is, after loading up in the offseason, your first round pick, bringing in Hassan Reddick, bringing in James Bradbury, bringing in CD Deuce now, right? All these acquisitions, all the things you did to help your Kazir White, all the things you did in the offseason to bolster your defense, and then you still underperform, you got to look at the defensive coordinator, don't you? Yes, you do. So is it possible, through sheer speculation, is it possible that Vic Fangio is just kind of waiting in the wings to see what Jonathan Gannon does? And more importantly, is Nick Sirianni, is Howie Roseman, is Jeffrey Lurie just sitting there going, all right, well, we got Vic Fangio on speed dial. For the kids out there, speed dial was a thing where you just push a button and all of a sudden the number comes up. You didn't have to enter in all the numbers. But do they have Vic Fangio just kind of standing there waiting in the wings to take over for Jonathan Gannon if this defense continues to struggle like they did in the first game of the season against the Detroit Lions? Because, and I'll let you hear from him, Jonathan Gannon just didn't seem like he had a good feel for what the hell was going on against the Lions. A lot of what he had to say yesterday during his 15-minute press conference was, 15-minute was along the lines of, I didn't see that coming. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not far off here. You thought the Lions were going to pass more? They ran more. Wasn't expecting that. Yeah, they did what you didn't expect. Go figure. Maybe that was why Jordan Davis didn't play more than he did in week 1. Because they were expecting more passing than they anticipated. They ran the ball, and they ran the ball really well against the Philadelphia Eagles, unfortunately. Without further ado, Jonathan Gannon, yesterday while addressing the media, just came right out, sat down, and declared and had an opening statement prepared. Here's what Jonathan Gannon literally sat down in his seat and just went, all right, folks. It's like when your parents are yelling at you. And you're like, all right, hold on, before you say anything, that fire started before I got there. Here's Jonathan Gannon yesterday.
Just to start, obviously a lot of things we need to clean up, and looking forward for that opportunity. I think it's very clear to the coaches and the players after watching the game what we need to improve on quickly. And from an execution standpoint, from a technique standpoint, and I thought we did some good things, but 35 points is not good enough. So had a chance to put that game away a couple different times, I thought, and we didn't do it. And then that's what happens. You get into a dogfight like that. So overall happy that we won the game, but that is not the standard that we need. We need to improve quick, and we will.
Mom, dad. Okay, hold on. Before you say anything, before I got in the room, my brother was already bleeding. Okay, just don't say it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Okay, let's all acknowledge and let's all start and agree that, yes, that was not the standard in which you're expecting this defense to play, especially against a team like the Detroit Lions. But I like that he addressed it right out of the gate. Now, this has never happened to me before. I have never heard something at a press conference and said, I can't hear that again. Like, in other words, hearing something that jumps out to me, thinking it relates to you guys, the audience, and it'll resonate with you a little bit, so thinking it's something that you haven't heard or would like to hear from the press just to explain something. I can't play for you. I cannot play for you. The moment Jonathan Gannon was asked about defense and tackling, and he responded by saying it had nothing to do with not practicing tackling during the offseason, OTAs, minicamp, training camp. Nothing to do with it. I can't hear that again. Once I heard that, I went, what? Question was, do you feel like not practicing tackling had anything to do with you guys not being able to tackle? For instance, 15 missed tackles, as we highlighted so many times yesterday. 15 missed tackles in this game. How could that not be a direct correlation to not practicing tackling? So Jonathan Gannon got asked the question, like, no, that's not really it. It's just something we need to improve upon. Oh, hey, improve upon. Wild idea. Just wild idea. To improve upon something. Now, hear me out here. It's going to be crazy. To improve upon something, perhaps practice it. Just a thought. I know I don't want to speak over anybody's head. Okay, I don't want to speak over anybody's head. But if you want to get better at something, do it more often. Generally speaking, you become better at it. Actually, not even generally, you get better at it. Even if you're terrible at the end, you're going to get a little bit less terrible as you go. How are you? Like, I've been golfing for 20 years, and I'm not as god awful as I was. It doesn't mean I'm joining the PGA Tour anytime soon, but I'm a lot better because I've practiced. Anything in life, just keep doing it. You're going to get better at it. I couldn't believe I heard it yesterday. I literally can't play the answer for you because it just makes you go, oh, God, no, stop, please. That's never happened before. It's like, oh, I got to let everyone hear this. No, all you need to know is he was asked if not tackling in practice led to not being able to tackle in a game. He said no. The correct answer is yes. Let's move on. Dear Lord. This is one of my favorite parts here. John McMullen, Jacob Media, John McMullen, Birds 365 with Jody McDonald as well. John McMullen. I get to talk to John now once a week yet again for a second straight season. I'll be doing as you guys know, doing the pregame show with Seth Joyner and Derek Gunn. Derek Gunn will be a guest of the show on Friday, by the way. I'll be hosted on the Jacob Media YouTube channel and 6abc.com. John McMullen was in the press conference yesterday, and John, I think, has a better understanding of what Jonathan Gannon is trying to do as a defensive coordinator than I think most people do. John's a little bit more open-minded than I would say most people, and very much myself, very, very much more open-minded than I am. So yes, JG, about the passing game that the Lions did not necessarily commit to in the second half of the game, despite being down in the game by 17 points. They stayed committed to running the football. So JG answered the question by saying, yeah, we really didn't expect that. And then he was asked a follow-up question simply about wishing he had plays back as a defensive coordinator. Here's that exchange with the media yesterday. It's about a minute. Here's what Jonathan Gannon had to say to the media yesterday about not knowing what Detroit was doing and anticipating more passing plays.
I thought maybe they were going to start to throw it a little bit more, and that went into some decisions that we made to put who we put out there. But again, though, ultimately we can't let them go down the field, up and down the field in the second half and score a bunch of points like that. So just from, we just got to play a little bit better, coach a little bit better.
From a play calling perspective, Jonathan, what did you walk away from thinking?
Yeah, when I walked off the field, there was a handful of calls I wanted back, that I put our guys in some bad spots, and that's always going to happen. And they got me out of a few bad spots, which, that was good to see because they've been doing that in camp, But, you're always going to want a few back, just like our players always want a few plays back. But, we'll always – I'll always call the game with the players in mind to try to set them up for the best things that they can do.
I didn't know what they were going to do. My job was to know what they were going to do, and I didn't know what they were going to do. They did the opposite of what I thought they were going to do, and that's how they played better than we played in that second half. I didn't know that they were going to go out there and keep running. I thought they were just going to keep passing. If they were going to keep passing, I was basically not going to have Jordan Davis in the game. And I was like, yeah, Jordan Davis, you stay over there because they're not going to be running the ball. Obviously, they're not like 17 points. They're not going to be, come on, they're not going to be bad. They're not going to be running the football. They're going to be throwing. And here we are. Eagles have a tough task in front of them now because, the Minnesota Vikings are not the Detroit Lions. The Minnesota Vikings have a really good defense. And if you're looking for a team to pass the football, this is going to be a team that's going to be throwing that football quite a bit. And they're going to be throwing to a guy named Justin Jefferson, who everyone here in Philadelphia knows as not Jalen Reagor. And Justin Jefferson is going to torch this secondary if Jonathan Gannon is not prepared. Now, yes, you have Darius Slay, who's going to be following Justin Jefferson all over the football field, but Adam Thielen's a pretty good wide receiver as well, so you got to make sure James Bradbury's on point as well. And you got to get after the quarterback. It's going to be your home opener. It's going to be Monday night. Everyone's going to be all jacked up, and everyone's going to be all excited, and rightfully so. But when it comes to this game, Gannon cannot afford, after this game, to be saying the same things that he said in this week's press conference, which was I don't know. What were you going to do with Justin Jefferson? I don't know what I'm going to be doing with Justin Jefferson. What happened with Justin Jefferson? He had 200 yards in this game. What are you going to do about that? Yeah, we didn't expect him to have that, so we didn't guard him as much. We didn't defend against him as much. We didn't defend against him as much as we should have. He did go on a beautiful rant yesterday of all the things that Justin Jefferson can do, and he's not wrong. That's probably the most accurate thing that he did say in his press conference yesterday. And I'll say this, the thing I agree with the most is Justin Jefferson can do everything. I listened to Brian Baldinger talk about it yesterday as well. Brian Baldinger talked about how Justin Jefferson has plans when he lines up. Plans what he's going to do before the catch when he's running his route, and plans what he's going to do after the catch. Where the defense is going to be, where he's going to take the football after he catches it. Like, the guy's just got he's got ideas. He's chock full of ideas of where he's going to go with the football. And then you know what he does with those ideas? He executes them. And then he executes the defense with his speed, his route running ability, his route running precision, his ability to take the top off the defense, his ability to be a very versatile wide receiver. They move him all over the place, slot, outside, everywhere. He can play everywhere. The guy is incredible. It's almost like the Philadelphia Eagles should have taken him in the draft. Anyway, I'm going to bury that anger. He's incredible. This is going to be a huge test for the Eagles defense entirely. Not just Darius Slay, not just Slay, following him around the field, but it's going to be a huge test for your defensive line to try to get through their O-line, try to stop the run because they got a hell of a run game as well. But ultimately get after the quarterback, because I don't think the Minnesota Vikings are going to beat you with a run-only offense. Minnesota Vikings are going to beat you by throwing the football. And if they're doing that and Kirk Cousins is dropping back and he's getting rid of the football too quick, that's another thing Gannon said yesterday, is they were just getting rid of the football too quick. I hate when that happens. There's draw up something to get to Jared Goff. And I give Gannon credit for that. Seeing the corner blitz there with Avonte Maddox that one time, that was nice. Seeing them be aggressive, that was nice. I told you for 3 quarters, it was like they were an aggressive defense. It was nice. And not so nice in that 4th quarter. But this is not a game that you can afford to have as many mistakes as you did against the Lions. The Eagles beat the Lions because they were the better team. The Eagles beat the Lions because they were the more talented team. If you went even talent, the Eagles are going to lose that game because the Lions played a better football game ultimately, especially in the latter stages of that game. The Eagles could get away with the mistakes that they made because the Lions are not a good football team. They're not going to get away with those mistakes for the Minnesota Vikings, against the Minnesota Vikings on Monday night. Gannon's at the drawing board. Maybe Vic Fangio's there somewhere on a Zoom call, sharing ideas as some kind of unnamed consultant. I don't know. But Gannon needs to make sure that this defense that they invested so much in the offseason is clicking on a much higher cylinder than it did against the Lions. And there's a tough task in front of them when facing the Vikings coming up on Monday night. Let me tell you about my man Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right here in Philadelphia. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Always fast and free shipping at IHateStevenSinger.com. And do what I do, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes to all your jewelry purchases, you trust one man. The man Philadelphia has trusted for over 40 years. 40 years in the love business in Philadelphia. Steven Singer Jewelers. And here's what he's doing for you. He's guaranteeing you the perfect price. Now, what's the perfect price, you might ask? I'll tell you what the perfect price is. The perfect price is knowing you don't have to go for a big jewelry purchase and negotiate and haggle and try to get one up on the salesperson trying to sell you that diamond. Because that salesperson trying to sell it is not even a salesperson. You know what they are? They're a jewelry expert walking you through everything to make sure whatever it is that you want to buy is of the highest quality and at the perfect price. So things aren't marked up way high just to mark it down a couple of bucks in front of you, make it feel, oh, you're a good negotiator. This is what I'll do for you. No, it's at the perfect price every single day. So you never get taken advantage of at Steven Singer Jewelers. And also, they have the Ready for Love diamond engagement rings that are standing by at the ready if you're looking to get engaged anytime soon. Fellas, push presents. They're big now. They're pretty big. Steven Singer's the way to go for that. One place, one price, the perfect price. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. All right, let's jump on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line, talk to our good friend. First time on the show, guy I've known for a while, Shamus Clancy joins the show on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. Is right now on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line from PhillyVoice.com. If you're not following on social media and his other platforms, what are you even doing with your life? Come on now. Shamus Clancy joining us right now from PhillyVoice.com. What's up, Shamus?
I'm hoping my Farzy show debut goes as well as A.J. Brown's debut as an Eagle.
All right, well, here's the thing. I know you're going to score at least. I don't know about 155 yards, but I know you're going to get in that end zone. Okay, friend?
I'm probably not a 10-catch guy. I'm more of a Dawson Knox, 1 catch, 8 yards, 1 touchdown guy, I think.
Right. Yeah, the guy that you're shaking your fist at in fantasy that you're playing against. I get it. Yeah. Shamus, appreciate you coming on. Yes, you are making your Farzy show debut. We appreciate that, man. And I was reading your mailbag earlier today as people were sending in some questions from PhillyVoice.com, and I literally laughed out loud at one of the comments where somebody did ask you about A.J. Brown, saying, is he real? Or is like he's some kind of unicorn? And your response was a classic line from Seinfeld. What was it? Go ahead.
He's real and he's spectacular.
He really
had Seinfeld. So many famous actors and actresses are just populated as one-off characters in that show.
It really, I went through the same thing some months ago. It became my feeding show. My son is now about to be 8 months old. And whenever I had to give him his bottle, it was like, I'll just put Seinfeld on and, give him the bottle. But yeah, like so many famous people were like Jerry's girlfriend for like 20 minutes and then they were gone.
Bob Odenkirk as George in the Jerry show during the pilot episode it was Jeremy Piven, not Bob Odenkirk. Yeah.
Right. Jeremy Piven was the fake George in the show. Yeah. And well, he was stealing something, wasn't it? Did he steal glasses or something? Or
he stole like some of the candy off the table.
Raisins. Yes, Raisinets. Yeah. There we go. And there we are. But when it does come to A.J. Brown and what we have seen from A.J. Brown in this one game, do you think it is justified to start the T.O. comparisons after one game as a Philadelphia Eagle?
That's some of the stuff I was writing this summer, and I'm like, am I getting too ahead of myself? But really, they haven't had star wide receiver, like star power like that. Like Deshaun, and I think I wrote about that maybe today, was greatest deep threat in NFL history, but he just doesn't affect the game in as many ways and isn't as versatile as A.J. Brown. At a certain point, just being stronger, bigger, and faster than everyone means you're an elite wide receiver. And I thought the T.O. comparison might be too lofty. If they had a bad week one, I was going to get some blowback. But T.O.'s debut against the New York Giants, week 1, 2004, 68 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, so a little bit different scoring-wise. But A.J. has 10 catches, 155 yards, the first Eagles player to do that since Jeremy Maclin in 2014. Really a performance that Eagles fans, if you're an Eagles fan of a certain age, you might have never seen a wide receiver performance like this before.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Whenever I think of T.O., regardless of length of time, he's the greatest football player I ever watched in an Eagles uniform. I was pretty young for Reggie. I respect Reggie for everything that he was, but for a guy that I could really appreciate, T.O. was the greatest one I ever saw put on a uniform.
Probably the best single season of any Eagle that I've seen. Like, obviously, Brian Dawkins, legends, Hall of Fame career, but I don't think he had a singular season where he just changed everything, not just about the team, but the city, the way that T.O. did in 2015.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, 100%. Now, the Eagles, of course, were leaking some gasoline there at the end of that game against the Lions. What do you see as the number one reason as to why they either took their foot off the gas or they were leaking that gasoline as the game went on?
So I was at Jonathan Gannon's press conference today and did a little article post-press conference on PhillyVoice.com, and it seemed to him that the defensive alignment and scheme later in that second half was really based around preventing passing games and throws downfield and those chunk gains. But what Detroit did successfully, and it's something that teams really do in the NFL when they're trailing later in games in the second half, even it was a 17-point lead for the Birds at one point in the third quarter, they were still running the ball a lot with both Williams and Philly native DeAndre Swift. And I think that kind of caught them off guard, and they still kept playing that specific style of defense, playing back a little bit, trying to protect themselves against long throws downfield. And credit to the Detroit's coaching that they're saying, hey, this is what's working for us. We're not going to be able to probably get back into this game with Jared Goff throwing downfield. So let's just run them down their throats. Jordan Davis is in there a lot. The linebackers, who I think are poised for success this season, definitely relative to the way Eagles linebackers performed for the previous 15 years. But DeAndre Swift, I think he's probably a top 5, top 6 back in the league. If you're playing for to prevent the pass, he's going to gash the defense, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like it. And it made me think for a second there, if the Eagles lose this game to the Lions, it's all because Deuce Staley is a great coach for the Lions, running that running backs room because of how good they were performing, especially later in that game. Interesting things there from Jonathan Gannon. But I saw this name, and I know it's come up more than once. And I remember I talked to Hollis Thomas a couple of weeks ago, and Hollis was bringing up this name for the first time as if he was a coach. Vic Fangio, of course, longtime defensive coordinator in the NFL, former head coach of the Broncos, and he has been around the team quite a bit. Is it too soon to say that Jonathan Gannon could possibly, in the eyes of not just fans, but of the front office and the rest of the coaching staff as well, already be on that proverbial hot seat?
On a pure speculation basis, I will say, going to training camp this summer, saw Fangio there a couple of times. I don't think he has an official role with the team. To my knowledge, I would just consider him, if someone asked him what his role is, an unofficial consultant is what I would probably call him. But I think that it was maybe kind of protecting themselves, maybe not specifically for this year, but we saw Jonathan Gannon actually got, as much as people want to break out the pitchforks right now after week one, was getting buzz as a head coach this past offseason. I believe he interviewed for the Houston Texans job. And if it's a situation where the Eagles had a lot of success this year, both offensively and defensively, with all this talent that they added, the improvements internally for some of the young guys, people might have thought that Gannon is a head coaching candidate next year. Maybe the Eagles thought, hey, let's slot in Fangio as this, senior defensive assistant consultant, however you want to give him a title. And then come February, come March, maybe after a successful playoff run, Gannon's elsewhere.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think Jonathan Gannon also, at least when the tires were kicked by the Denver Broncos as far as a head coaching job, but I did think it was odd that those rumors of at least that speculation has already started because he got that head coaching consideration in the offseason.
Yeah, and I think that aspect probably took some Eagles fans by surprise, because I would say that Gannon was a pretty divisive figure in the city and the fan base last season. You look at the completion percentage whenever they played a great quarterback, even Derek Carr, Justin Herbert, when they're playing Patrick Mahomes, those completion percentages were just eye-popping. And for however many games in the row, they were giving up the highest completion percentage in NFL history over a certain streak. And then that guy's getting head coaching buzz in the offseason. And if you're a fan, you might be sitting there like, what the F is going on?
And that's exactly what fans were doing. Yeah. Let's talk about the quarterback for a second here. Jalen Hurts obviously going to be under a lot of pressure for the second straight year. Eagles have another 2 first-round picks, at least in the upcoming NFL draft. Week 1, we saw him statistically get rid of the ball faster. 3.12 last year was the average seconds he got rid of the football. This time around, it was about 2 3/4, which is a little bit of an improvement. Running for his life or running too much? What did you make of his rushes against the Lions one?
I was a little disappointed with the offensive line. I'm someone who still certainly believes that the Eagles have the best offensive line in football, whether it's especially run blocking. But I still think in the pass block game, they're still an elite unit. But I thought that there was a couple situations I think I'd credit to Detroit's defensive scheme. I think they schemed up some nice blitzes where Hurts kind of had to get out of the pocket right away. And then, of course, there are some moments where he probably does get out of the pocket a little bit earlier than he should. And, sometimes he kind of defaults to his supreme talent with his legs that are really unparalleled outside of Lamar Jackson. But I think overall, guy's not Patrick Mahomes. We know that he's never going to be that type of quarterback. But I think just evaluating him since his first start in 2020 against the Saints, and was that week 15 or whatever that was his best passing performance as an Eagle so far, a little bit more even than some of the highs and lows he's had in the past. And I think specifically that deep 54-yard pass, A.J. Brown down the right sideline right before the first half was the best throw he's made in his pro career. And I think that in itself has to be an encouraging sign. And someone might say, hey, if that's what happens, it's because they have elite receiver talent. And I was like, well, that's why you get elite receiver talent. If you think your quarterback might just be okay to good rather than great to elite, you want to surround him with the best possible talent to maximize that guy. It's exactly what they're doing. It's exactly what they should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the ball was right there, by the way.
It was great pass. Exactly. I when it was up in the air, I didn't have confidence that's where it was going. I'll say that. And then was shocked that's actually where it went.
It's right in his hip pocket, and he was fighting. He was fighting for it too, which is great, which again, to your point, is why you get the elite wide receivers. How concerned should I be about Devontae Smith and not getting a catch in the first game there? How much of a worry is that?
I think as soon as next week, you're going to start seeing that safety shade over to A.J. Brown's side more. He's going to get some double coverage, get some of those things. And eventually, if the defensive game plan is based around stopping A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith is as good as a route runner that I've seen in the last handful of years with the Eagles, where I don't think he's going to have any issues racking up some 7-catch, 87-yard games when AJ might be blanketed a little bit. And I think you're going to see Dallas Goedert getting a little bit more because of how much success Jalen had running the ball, not just as a design runner on some of those read options, but actually those scrambles where he's actually picking up way more yards on scrambles than he is on those design runs. You're going to start seeing a quarterback spy. And if you have, someone double covering AJ Brown, you have a quarterback spy, and then the middle of the field's open for Dallas Goedert before you know it. So there's going to be options for everyone out there eventually to come this season.
Sorry, are you one of the people that were going into this game in week 1 worried about Miles Sanders? I know I was, and it wasn't because okay, it wasn't just because of the hamstring injury. It was the lack of production as well.
I've been a little uneven on Miles and his, I think, kind of a tumultuous Eagles tenure. Maybe that sounds too strong, but he's battled some injuries, had some struggles. I think the fumble issues, specifically last season, were huge. And then last season, when they had that historic rushing attack, a lot of those things started and came into motion when he was injured and they're playing, Jordan Howard off the street and they're having that level of success. So I always kind of wondered, what Miles Sanders' true ceiling is, what he can consistently be at the NFL level. But again, last game, that was his best performance maybe since he was a rookie. I thought he was excellent as a rookie, and then kind of regressed in 2020. Everyone stunk and sucked in 2020, but even last year, I thought some of the other running backs who were out there maximized the scheme and the system better than he did. But hats off to a great performance. He missed some time this summer. That hamstring injury, when you hear a hamstring injury for a running back, especially one who's going into his contract, you're kind of fear for the worst, think that this might not really work out. They're going to have to add another guy off the street like they've done last year. They did early in training camp. But I think you have to be happy with them. Again, as someone who might be a little more lukewarm on Miles than the general consensus, I was happy with the performance.
As was I. Certainly concerned going into the season, to say the least, along with the hamstring injury, not just that, but the lack of production. Minnesota Vikings next on the Eagles schedule here, Monday Night Football, 8:30. Gut feeling, your far too early gut feeling for the game kicking off Monday night.
Jonathan Gannon probably not sleeping much this week, I would think, right? No. I think Kirk Cousins is a very good regular season quarterback. Wouldn't necessarily want him quarterbacking my favorite team come the postseason, but I think they have a coach there in Kevin O'Connell who's really going to maximize that downfield throwing game. They scored 23 points in a decent Packers defense in week 1, and then obviously Justin Jefferson goes for 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. Going to be hard to stop. I know Darius Slay had a Pro Bowl season last year. I think he should have warranted some All-Pro consideration, but man, that guy is just – he might be number 1 in the NFL for receivers. He's that unstoppable, and he seems like he's already on a trajectory where, that guy's going to be, top 5, top 10 receiver of all time. It sounds hyperbolic, but just based on his numbers, his first couple of years in the league, it's not.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. Shamus, you're a guy that's been covering Philadelphia sports for quite some time now. I know that my viewers, my listeners have been reading you for a while, and I know that you grew up in this area. I know that you're a Philadelphia sports fan. I mean, the banners and stuff behind you will show that. Just let's play this game for just 1 second. What if there was a brawl outside Lincoln Financial Field like there was outside Ford Field? What if there was a fight in the stands like there was at AT&T Stadium with the Cowboys playing? What if Philadelphia fans threw trash at Dak Prescott or to Jalen Hurts after a game? How do you think that would have been covered nationally?
Yeah, you think if Jalen Hurts gets hurt, it's primetime night game. Jalen Hurts gets hurt in the middle of the game. The Eagles are losing 19-3 to the Vikings. Things are going south. The defense looks terrible. Offense is stagnant. Hurts limps off the field in the locker room. People are just throwing empty Miller Lite cans at him. I think we'd have a little bit more of a national discourse around fandom and how fans are just so out of control. And it's what's wrong with this city.
No, absolutely. It would have been a headline story, and it would have evolved into how do we control fans, not just in Philadelphia, but across the league.
A referendum on just attendees in sports in the entire country, regardless of league.
Yeah, 100%. Shamus Clancy, great talking to you again, man. It had been a minute since you and I caught up. And I do have to do one favor here for our mutual friend, Mike K. Is it true that you were the one that called it on the rain game last week on the Phillies, that you're the one that said it's raining too much, we can't go?
Yeah, but Mike also suggested we get dinner in South Jersey, and I agreed to that, and he did not follow up on the dinner.
Oh! I'm going to talk to that young man.
I thought we were going to audible to dinner, which I was more in favor of for weather reasons, but he didn't really follow through on the dinner comment.
Well, look at him not providing all the information. Despicable, that guy. You can't trust that journalist. Shamus, great catching up with you, man. Thanks so much for being on the Farzy Show. I'm sure we'll talk to you again down the football season line. Thanks so much.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Shamus Clancy joining us on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. You think you know a guy. Mike K, after we had our interview last week, we're just talking after the interview, just a couple of dudes catching up, right? And he reveals to me that he was supposed to go to the Phillies game, that like rain-soaked game last week. And not the one that took 7 hours, the other one. And he goes, yeah, we were supposed to go, but Shamus had the tickets and we didn't go. And he said, yeah, it's raining, forget about it. So then all Mike told me was that they never rescheduled or they never made any plans or anything like that. Shamus was the one that kind of pulled the rug out from the idea of going to the game. And I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. But Mike K never said, yeah, but let's go to dinner instead, and then did not follow through on the plans to go to dinner somewhere in South Jersey. Ridiculous. I will be texting my friend today and be like, what the hell, bro? What the hell? First off, where's my invite? He knows I can't go anywhere. 2 small kids in the house. Forget about it. Yeah, he never followed up on that. That's ridiculous, if you ask me. My thanks to Shamus Clancy. Good having him on the show. Very, very knowledgeable guy. Let me tell you about Manscaped, ladies and gentlemen. Manscaped, the leader in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped.com, 20% off when you use promo code Farzy at Manscaped.com. That's 20% off when you use promo code Farzy at Manscaped.com. You can right now, you get yourself the Platinum Package 4.0 because, fellas, it's the ultimate hygiene bundle. And you want to look good everywhere, right? And I do mean everywhere. Like your undercarriage, for instance. It includes the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, and it all comes with skin-safe technology that helps reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. Plus, it also comes with the It also comes with the Ultra Premium Body Wash, 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, crop preserver, anti-chafing ball deodorant, crop reviver ball spray toner, anti-chafing boxers, and the shed travel bag that you'll be using to hold the goods that you'll be using to take care of your goods from Manscaped. Manscaped, the leader in below-the-waist grooming, join the 4 million men worldwide that use Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Farzy. Speaking of promo code Farzy, how about FreestoneFarmsCBD.com and getting 20% off your FreestoneFarmsCBD.com order when you use promo code Farzy? You'll love their strain menu. Oof. It's just fantastic. You can check out FreestoneFarmsCBD.com. Look at their strain menu. They have the Bayox, right? They got Bayox, tropical tasting Bayox. It clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%. And Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Genetics of these guys are off the charts. And they grow all their premium hemp flower in the Garden State with all organic inputs and IPM. There's absolutely nothing synthetic from farm to jar. And after harvest, they carefully preserve all their plant compounds with a perfect 3-month cure. Just one look or smell will let you know it's CBD done right. Once again, 20% off at FreestoneFarmsCBD.com when you use promo code Farzy. That's 20% off Freestone Farm CBD when you use promo code Farzy. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. Fellas, little issue in the bedroom. Maybe Blue Chew needs to enter the chat. Blue Chew is an online prescription service that goes right to your door in a discreet package, and you can get your first month free when you use promo code Farzy at BlueChew.com. Just pay $5 shipping. Blue Chew online, unique online service, delivered straight to your door, and it delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets help men combat all forms of ED. And Blue Chew, once again, is online, so there's no embarrassing trips to the doctor or the pharmacy, as Blue Chew ships right to your door in a discreet package. And here's the Blue Chew process. You sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew's medical providers will work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. And if you don't like swallowing pills, no problem, as Blue Chews, get this, are chewable. They're also made right here in the good old US of A. And they prepare and ship direct to your house, so it's also cheaper than a pharmacy. Once again, here's the special deal for our listeners and our viewers. Try Blue Chew free when you use promo code Farzy at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code Farzy, all one word, to receive your first month free. Let's move into the chat check and see how you beautiful people are doing today. Kevin leads it off for us. Kevin, Phillies won their 4th straight game. 4 in a row for the Phils. Very nice to see that. Sean Gillespie. Morning, Kevin, and my fellow chat checkers. Sean, I almost stopped the checkers the other day. Almost got myself a big Buford. And you know what stopped me? The Checkers that I'd gone to in at Temple University closed. It's right down the street from Temple. No longer there. Closed. I believe the KFC is still open, but the Checkers, not open. Not open. R.I.P. to my college Big Buford days. James Whalen, good morning, buddy. Nice to see you. Mally, hello. April, hello, April. Sean Gillespie, look at Colin Burger. What's up, buddy? Nick Maton, the only MLB player with more than one home run overall contra. Who would have thought? It's insane to think about. And who is the Kevin Cooney of the AP? Longtime sports writer here in Philadelphia. Kevin Cooney of the AP pointed this out. And I mean, it should be obvious, but it's just one of those things you don't think about it until it's pointed out. And it's like, where would this team be without the bottom rung guys on their payroll? Nick Maton, Bryson Stott, Maton+Falter. Where would they be this year without those guys? Because those guys, Maton alone has been the hero of what? Garrett Stubbs. He's the guy that officially took the monkey off the back from the Miami Marlins. Miami Marlins monkey off the back and threw it off there with that walk-off home run. Friend of the show. Yeah, it's insane. And Nick Maton is just the latest example of that. And again, 5 home runs on the season. A home run every 9.8 at bats. That is bonkers. That's baseball. Sean Gillespie talking about practice? Oh, we're talking about practice. Mihai Sanchez, what's up, brother? Morning, Mark, everyone. Nick Maton in the clutch. Can be an everyday second baseman, although Segura at 32 still has it? Question mark. 3 hits for Segura last night. Maton always seems to bat around 280 daily MLB material. I agree. I think he's definitely got it in him. Now the question is coming up here with Gene Segura, whether or not you're going to extend him after this season. My thought process is still that Trey Turner is going to be playing shortstop for the Phillies next year, and that Bryson Stott will be your second baseman. And then Nick Maton will come off the bench and bombs for you. John Cheeseborough, what's up, John? Nice to see you. Oh, here we go. Sean Gillespie, the Eagles' arrogance in believing Detroit would just lie down in the fourth quarter. Yeah, you're not going to do that when Dan Campbell's your coach. Here's what I will say. When you do have a coach like Dan Campbell, especially in the early goings of the season, you're always going to be giving it the old college try. Because it's not just screaming and yelling. It's making your players believe in you, believe in your system, and motivate, and finding the way to motivate your players. That's what I think Dan Campbell does really well. And week 1, coming off that training camp, coming off all the conversations surrounding them with Hard Knocks, and yes, that does play into this. Yeah, they're not going to lie down and die. I totally agree with what you're saying there, Sean. And they did not. And I guess the Eagles didn't take any of that into account. Okay, they're just going to air out the football, and Jared Goff's not that good. We got this. Eee. John Cheeseborough, what's going on? That's a nice hello to Sean. Sean, hello again. What else do we have? Eagles can't afford to start slow against Minnesota. They can't afford to play it safe either. John, those are both boxes I would check. I agree. They cannot start slow against this team. Here's what I do want to see. The thing that did bother me, and I understand that you're not going to have. I understand that basically Jalen Hurts was under a lot of pressure, and when I told you guys I went back and watched, it was like every time he would drop back to pass, he was being moved off his spot at the top of his drop back because he was under pressure. So I know that, and I understand that he's going to be limited in where he's going once he has to roll to the right or left. But when you have, 2 wide receivers catch a pass for you, that's not good. And you only have 5 receivers catch passes for you throughout a game. Like, I love seeing games where you see a guy complete passes like 7, 8, 9 different guys throughout the game. 5 guys caught passes. That's not good. Need to expand that just a little bit. Boop. Eagles can't afford it. Shamus killing the beard game. I agree. What am I missing here? Oh God, Mihai. When our defense gets shredded again, At least I got Justin Jefferson on my fantasy teams. One of my fantasy teams, says me. That's yeah. I don't mind people downgrade or not downgrading, shifting to that. Kirk Cousins, is it the greatest primetime performer? I do think they took the Lions too lightly. And I got burned by that. And then they got burned by that. The defense has to tighten up. I agree. Corners can't play 10 to 15 yards off. Yep. April, Mark, T.O. over B-Doc? Come on. Oh, I know, April. But here's the way I factor it. On the Hall of Fame free safety or Hall of Fame safety list and the Hall of Fame wide receiver list, I have T.O. above where Dawkins would fit in the free safety category. I think T.O. was a better wide receiver than Dawkins was a free safety. As great as Dawkins was, as much as I love him, if I just had to see one season or just see anyone wear that uniform, even for a short sample size, small sample sizes we saw with T.O., that was the most dominating athlete. Every single game was changed. And as a offensive player, you have a little bit more say in the way the game changes because you're dictating to the defense ultimately what they're going to do. Dawkins certainly had that ability to do that to defenses. You had to keep that into consideration. And as far as just being a better Eagle, a greater Eagle, certainly Dawkins runs away with that. But just in terms of sheer overall talent on an NFL scale, I look at T.O. all the way. I mean, still third all time in receiving touchdowns is pretty damn incredible. And Dawkins has the insane stat of like the only free safety with like 25 sacks, 20 interceptions, 20 fumble recoveries, forced fumbles, and like the only guy to do that. Absolutely incredible. Or sacks rather. But that's absolutely insane. But in terms of just sheer dominance, yeah, it's T.O. And like I said, I was young for Reggie. I knew he was great, but I couldn't appreciate it as much as I wanted to. And then he left because God told him to go to Green Bay. And he won a Super Bowl, so maybe God was right. Let's see here. I need Eagles to beat the crap out of the Vikings. There you go, April. I like that. What else do we have here? We have Sean. Hello again, Sean. John, nice to see you. We got all sorts of stuff going on here. And let's see. Michael's at Herb Street, Amazon Prime games. Yeah, that's right. Tonight, tomorrow night, Thursday night. April, absolutely not, Mark. You're my boy, but we can't agree on this one. To each their own. Checkers at 29th and York is gone too. What is going on with the Checkers, John? This is ridiculous. People are not taking care of us. Whatever. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys. You guys are great. Let's move on to our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Phillies right back at it tonight. 6:40 start time against the Miami Marlins. Last night, let's see here. We're going to see if we can get Maton+Falter. We'll see if we can get another good start from our starting pitcher today, and maybe another home run. Kyle Gibson has been on the definition of the schneid lately, ladies and gentlemen. None too good. Last two starts, 9 hits, and then 5 hits. 9 hits against Miami, 5 hits against San Francisco, 4 earned runs against Miami in his last start and 6-5 loss, 7 earned runs against San Francisco Giants in his start before that. Come on, man. Now is the time to hunker down and get things done. Now is the time. Hopefully that's the case. Also, did you guys see this story? I missed this story, and I apologize profusely for missing it. But over the weekend, or excuse me, 2 nights ago, the Atlanta Braves are in San Francisco, and they're playing the Giants. And in that game, Gabe Kapler goes to take out his relief pitcher. And in that game, in that trot to the mound, Kapler goes out there, and he has a bit of an altercation with Little, I think is how you say his name, Zach Little or Lytle. And he goes out there, and Lytle doesn't want to be taken out of the game, and he says something to Kapler. Kapler's head like snaps around, and they go into the dugout, and Kapler walks right by Little and goes into the clubhouse. And Little follows him. So you know that Kapler said something like, follow me. And he followed him. And after the game, he talked about, oh, he's a competitor. Excuse me. This is a competitor. He's a really great competitor. Really love the guy. He's a competitor. And then he got sent down to the minors. Let's not piss off Gabe Kapler, apparently. Playing for keeps in San Francisco, despite being all the way down at the bottom of this list. And also despite sweeping the Philadelphia Phillies. But whatever. And this list, of course, is the wild card spot. So that's what happened with your old boy there, Gabe Kapler, out there in San Francisco. Phillies get the game tonight. Phillies play tonight 6:40 against the Miami Marlins. Game 2, looking to win the series. And let's cross our fingers. The good old Kyle Gibson has what it takes to be able to get another victory under his belt and help this team win, because he sure has not over his last handful of starts. For the Miami Marlins tonight, Edward Cabrera gets the start. He's 5-2 on the year, 2.63 ERA, 59 strikeouts in 54 2/3 innings of work. That's the Farzy Show for today, presented by Steven Singer. Steven Singer Jewelers. Jim Hyden produced the program, did a phenomenal job as per usual. This is a Buzz Sports Entertainment production. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Hopefully we're talking about another Phillies victory tomorrow. Oh, Bo Wolf, by the way, of The Athletic, will be joining the show. Another first-time guest of the Farzy Show. Derek Gunn on Friday, Bo Wolf tomorrow to talk all things Birds. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take it easy.